Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about The Real Thing by Henry James. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. So, The Real Thing, very interesting work here. So we meet an artist and he has models. He has four pairs of models, and basically, this short story is him trying to decide which models he's gonna go with for this book, and to model for him for his work. So basically, you have a woman by the name of Miss Churm. Miss Churm is young. She can get into all these types of different poses, even her imperfections or perfection. She can do everything right in terms of being a model, and she just does everything flawlessly to the artist's liking. And then later in the short story, we have another guy by the name of Orant that comes in for a job, and he does get a job, as a model, and being an aide in the house of this narrator who's an artist, and he can paint. He does illustrations. He's working on a novel, a book, and he's made money, but he hasn't made fame. So you know how a lot of people want fame and fortune. This particular artist narrator, our narrator here, he's made fortune, but he hasn't really made fame. So it's very interesting. So then we have Major Monarch and Mrs. Monarch. There are two other models that show up within this work. They're looking for modeling jobs, and basically they're not good. They come in, they're not good at it. They're very stiff. They have their own opinions. They want to wear their own clothes. They're not, go lucky, do whatever you want type of people. They're set in their ways, and the artist here, the narrator, it's kind of tough for him to paint them, to draw them, to do anything with them, because they're just not good for his work, for his line of work. I mean, there's a work where they're in it, and he sends it to a friend to inspect it, to another artist, and the artist is like, man, this is rubbish. This is just not good. Ultimately, he does fire the Monarchs, Major Monarch and Mrs. Monarch, and they come back in humility and grace, and they clean up his studio, his workstation, his home, and they just don't look right, because they look like monarchs. They look like the upper class royalty. And when this artist has people who look like they're royalty cleaning up, washing his dishes, picking up rags, it doesn't look good. All right. So he does pay them at the end of the short story and sends them away and tell them they don't have to go back. He pretty much fires them and keeps this guy by the name of Arant and Miss Churm, as models for his illustrations, for the book, for anything artistic that he needs models for. Um, it's a very interesting story. The monarchs are people who are just looking for work. They're looking for money to pay their bills, and they were models. It seems like when they were young, they were models, and so they got old. And well, in terms of the modeling world, I know a lot of people are against me when I say this, but the modeling world favors young people, women and men in their 20s and 30s, and depending on how good they look, and perhaps their 40s, but we have to face reality. When as we get older, we get wrinkles and crinkly, and we get old. We get, the hunchback and the wrinkled face, and just like flowers, humans, we get old, and we lose the glow of youth and beauty. I mean, you might disagree, but beauty goes away, people. All right. Humans go back to dust. I mean, however you want to name it, at someday you're going to be a pile of ash. I'm sorry if this is a brand news to you, but we all die and we become ash. So no one's going to look at a pile of ash and say, well, that's just beautiful. That's just a beautiful pile of ash. When you're young and you're youthful and you're beautiful, the world will admire you and say, oh man, that's a beautiful woman. That guy looks good and all that kind of thing right there. But as you get older, eyes start to look away, and eyes always stay on the young. And the young athletes, young models, young actors, young stars. Your prime, your heyday, your most beautiful days are in your youth, your 20s, 30s, and perhaps early 40s. If some people, I'm sorry, but some people it just starts to go down way before their 40s. It's just life. I know most people beat around the bush around these facts, but these are the facts of life. If you don't like the coffee, that's just the coffee. You're gonna have to drink it eventually. It's just everybody comes to the realization that we all get old and crinkly and hunchback and wrinkly, and you know there's nothing wrong with being a little Grammy and a little grandpa and being old and gray, you know? Yeah. So basically, the Monarchs, in the sense, they just don't fit in. Even when they lose their job, they try to come in and to clean for the artists. It doesn't work well, and he sends them away because he can't just look at them. People that look like Monarchs working for him, that look like the upper class working for him. But Miss Churm and Orant, they do their job well. The artist here, he was trying to get this book, and he does get the book contract to do the work for the book, and all ends well for him. But he does send the Monarchs away. It's just not a at first it seemed like the Monarchs came to get their portrait taken, to get a portrait of them together. And it kind of seemed like Major Monarch was going to pay lots of money to get his wife's portrait done. But no, no, not at all. This work does have to, okay. So the title, in terms of deeper meaning and analysis, there's a lot of philosophical ideas and things going on here in terms of what is the real thing and what is not. The Monarchs they're just real, okay? They're just, you can't make them up. They're just are. Miss Churm and Orant, they're kind of like, they're caricatures. They can get into any position. They can be any, they could pull anything off. And so it's not just that they look attractive or they look the part. It's just that they can make you feel that something is real. So they can put on a costume and be that individual that you want them to be. Whatever the artist wants them to be, that's what they are, and they can pull it off. It's a talent and facial expression and body positioning, and so this story does, for me at least, it made me think about the skills that it requires for someone to be a model, because it's not just looking beautiful and just walking down the ramp or the runway, or that long thing that models walk down. For some reason I can't think what the catwalk, no, the long thing that they model on. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And so basically, what ultimately happens, the Miss Churm, at some point they asked her to serve tea within the work, and she didn't want to serve tea. She didn't want a demotion. Her and Arant, they get the job, and the Monarchs get fired. But the Monarchs are the real thing. So this work does make you think about, well, what do you really want? What do people want? Do you want the fake and the pretend, or do you want the real thing? Like, what is the real thing? Are we more about morals and ethics and what reality is about, or do we want pretend? And honestly, I think society really wants pretend rather than real. I think society likes beating around the bush. I think the truth hurts. I think people want to stay in their delusions rather than accept the truth. I think that people want to tell themselves that reality can be, you can bend it. But look at us: movies, music, entertainment. We like fantasies. Um, we like false news. I mean, we watch so much false things that the truth is just, people don't want the truth sometimes, and the truth hurts. And so the artist in the end kind of stays with Miss Churm and Orant, which they don't represent the real thing, but That's what the people want. That's what the artists want. That's what the society expects. The monarchs are just out of place, and they just don't look their part. Um, the way that they just don't look it. Okay, they just don't look it. So this work is more in terms of thinking about you know what's real, what's not, what's fake, what's false. It has a lot to do with morals and ethics, and pretty much what society wants. It's not, I mean, there's ideas about money. The artist is trying to make his money, or he's just trying to reach some fame, or the monarchs are just trying to make money themselves. They just need a job. And the pretendness of Miss Churm and Orant, and how they can be fake, or be anything that you want them to be. They're like puppets, or they're like mannequins that you can just put in any position. Because think about mannequins, for example. Mannequins, they can stand up. You can put their arms up. You can you know turn them to their right side, their right, their left, backwards. You can dress them however you want. You can put hats on them. Mannequins could you could do they're puppets. They're human like puppets that you could do whatever you want to them. And honestly, the monarchs seem like real people and living beings, and Miss Churm and Orlando are kind of more like living mannequins that can do whatever you need them to do for your artistry. And yeah, so those are some reflections. That's the analysis. There's a lot to think about with this work, but that's all I had to say. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and be real, because this search is the real thing. Yeah. All right. That's a wrap. That's a wrap.